he valued 3 life over stopping SeaEDH from comboing off.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that something you need to do in SeaEDH? Stop SeaEDH from comboing off? Is that a
actually
optimal play?
Yeah, it's probably one of the best decks right now.
Yeah. Okay, so the main topic then is just
we call it like SeaEDH expectations.
Yeah, or kind of like those players are like Jar Jar Binksing the situation where like you're in the Star Wars situation, you got all these Jedis running around, but Jar Jar is making plays that is affecting things just by fucking not doing what anyone knows what to expect.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the MoxStars podcast. I am one of your hosts, Evan Kunai, and I am here with 2 other MoxStars. We've got Christopher Ritter.
You know, you always warn us that you're going to jump right into it, and I am never prepared for the like volume level.
First time I jumped right into it.
Yeah. But here we are. Here I am.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah. Hi.
And Jordan Garcia.
Yo, what up?
Just a friendly reminder that this is the #1 podcast for Dr. Pepper and the #1 podcast on the internet. You can follow us and support us
flat out
by finding us on YouTube. You can subscribe, and hit that little bell for more notifications. You can join our Discord server where you can do everything.
You can do real pepperheads are on the Discord.
We should have a little pepper channel. That'd be
yeah. If you're salty, you got a little pepper, you can go to the Discord channel and discuss it there. We have been having a great time in Brew Buddies lately.
Tons of deck brewing, tons of spoilers, tons of running games.
Yep, and a great community. You can also find us on all major podcasting platforms where if you go in and you leave us a review, a good review, it goes a long way to helping support the show by increasing our chances of reaching new people and the algorithm benefiting us. You know,
yeah, 1-star reviews don't help that much, actually.
Yeah, they actually hurt us.
Believe it or not.
You know what? Speaking of reaching new people, I have a little thing I want to throw out there. Last week in my absence, we had a player interview, Atlas, one of the Vanguard players in the Pacific Northwest here in the community, and we are looking to do more player interviews. So getting on our Discord, talking to us at tournaments, stuff like that, great way to get your name in the mix. Or if there's a player that you're hot to know their inner workings, definitely bring up their name and we can get that 100%. In the pipeline. Yeah, we're excited to do more of it.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're trying to make waves or you are winning tournaments, we want you on the show.
Winning tournaments, coming up with something new, pushing us forward, the industry forward a little bit. That's what we want to talk to.
Yeah, and that's kind of the direction we want to go. We want to be doing this tournament coverage, and like all these decks can kind of be the same, right? Card for card for card, but we all know that it comes down to the pilot, and that's what we want to focus on. So we're looking forward to creating more content like that. If you guys want to see more content like that, be sure to leave a little comment down below. Today, our pregame actions. We have a couple. And we also have our main topic, which is going to be talking about optimized play at tournaments in a competitive setting. So first pregame action, we finally see all of the alternate arts and the full release of Commander Masters, which is a crazy set that I haven't seen. I mean, it's highly anticipated, of course. It has a lot of reprints that people have been looking forward to. Finale Devastation, Fierce Guardianship, that whole cycle with Deflecting Swat and Obscuring Haze, which looks incredible as an alternate art. I was thoroughly shocked. And we finally get we were actually just talking about things like Spectator Seating getting alternate arts.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even notice.
Yeah, all the Battle Bond, or half the Battle Bond cycle.
Yeah, the ones they're printing, whole new art set. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm actually a little sad that they didn't do the full cycle, or at least print the enemy side of the lands in the precons.
Does Wizards ever do that, print the full cycle in a set? I feel like they're always doing half the cycle.
They did an unfinished.
It's so annoying that they did the same half of the cycle in the last 2 printings.
Yeah, and then the art styles are completely different, so your deck has no continuity. That's my problem with it, is like, I'm glad we're getting full arts for these cards that didn't have alternate arts, but then again, when they finally go forward and they do the next commander set or whatever, those artworks won't have continuity with the ones that are printed now. So when you build your deck, like everyone wants to have their own personalized flair. Like I love having the expedition lands, but now I'm stuck with half of the battle bond lands not having expedition arts. So I can't play, like I don't play spectator seating, and it's a personal choice because it does not have an expedition.
Yes,
That's not insane at all.
you know that is the correct amount insane of insane. Yeah.
Thank you. Another pregame action.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little mailbag.
And just hold that up to the camera.
Yep. Oh, here it is.
Just
Can you
keep it
guys
in
see
frame. Make sure we get it. Oh my God, that's great.
Oh yeah. If you can see this right now on camera, it's beautiful. It is a Dadsy altar. I got my own little 2 cards altered. I got the Red Terror, which is unreal. It's terrifying.
It actually looks fucking sick. We'll put the pictures up.
Yeah, I'll put the pictures up in the Discord, so be sure to join. And then I also got Cindervines because it was that first tournament I played. I was really surprised with how well they interacted with one another in Shalai and Halar. So I got that altar done, and this one was actually the most surprising of them all. I had no idea how he was going to depict it, but he blew it out of the water.
Yeah, dude, popped off.
Absolutely. And it's just a little plug for Dadsy Creative Altars. Like, get out there, follow him on Instagram. You can message him, get your own altars. It is one of the, like, I'd say more financially friendly altars you can get with, like, absolutely stellar results.
Yeah. Support a small artist. Get some cool cards.
Yeah, totally. It was about a 5-week wait, but it was totally worth it. And let's just move right into it. Let's talk about the tournament recap, the thing that we just got back from. Mm-hmm. We played a tournament. It was SeaEDH 2, the Runback at Laughing Dragon MTG in Issaquah, Washington.
One of our favorite card shops.
Yeah, this is where Jordan, myself, and Kyle all went and competed. Jordan, what'd you play? What deck did you play? Tevcrom. Kyle took Joda the Unifier, which was
such a fun deck.
It was such a fun deck. I really hoped he was going to steal some games, and I ran it back with Shalai and Halar. So, story on the day, Jordan, how'd you do?
I did pretty poorly. I took 0 wins for the day. I'd like to chalk it up to just being emotionally and physically exhausted from my personal life. But yeah, I mean, part of it is I think what we'll be talking about in a little bit is, accepting the meta, looking around, actually using that to influence your opinions. We're talking about playing optimally in tournaments. I love my deck, and I've always been trying to make it work. But at a certain point, you need to look around and realize that every single deck around you plays Rule of Law and stacks effects. And if you're not that, you're a 5-color mid-range deck. So I'm finding that it's very difficult to shoehorn anything else into the current meta because it just doesn't thrive.
So for you and that deck, is it the commander pairing of Tevcrom, or is it the other
deck?
98
it's
cards?
It's the deck. Tevcrom was my attempted answer to this because I've been experiences, right? I played
and how would Tevcrom circumvent that?
Extra card draw, right? So you essentially have 2 huge value engines in the command zone, and that gives you that mid-range status that allows you to kind of grind and keep up. And that was my attempted answer of playing the deck I wanted to play, while seeing that it's not the best deck for this meta. And I will keep playing it because it's the deck I like, but I mean, looking at maybe coming out to tournament specifically, I'll probably be looking at building a new deck for that.
So do you think? So you've been hot on thick Grixis for a while. Do you think that you're over it? Still gonna slim it down?
TBD. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. If I build a 5-color mid-range pile, which I'm looking at building SeaEDH for tournament play. I think. I don't know. I like playing all those cards, so it'll depend. I really like playing Grixis without the ad nauseam thing. It lets us play really cool things. We're playing Bolus of Citadel plus Necropons, and now with Born Upon a Wind, that whole archetype has gotten some gas.
Yeah, Necro Born Upon a Wind is pretty hot.
It's pretty fun, right? And so there's a lot of new play strategies and play lines that I really want to keep working out. But
I've really been saying that Necropotence is a card that just needed to be gassed up a little bit.
100%. 100%.
Were you able to pull that off at all in the tournament?
No, I wasn't. I didn't. I just had kind of a rough part of it. And again, when we'll get into our main topic coming up.
Was it the deck or the deck plus RNG? Do you think maybe you'd have a different perspective?
Oh yeah.
If RNG went the other way and you went 1 and 4 or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, No, I've still felt this for a while, right? I've still felt that the meta is just not healthy for the deck I like to play. But I will say I had some of the fucking worst RNG at this tournament, bro. Like multiple mulls to 5, and like I'll draw like 6 cards and 5 of them were lands, and then I got hit by Paco 3 times, and he literally hit like Rhystic Study, Bolsa Citadel, Underworld Breach, and so it's like I don't know. Sometimes, like, I mean, that's a huge part about going to tournaments, right? Sometimes, like, you can be as prepared as you want to be or can be, and sometimes you just lose to RNG as well. But that being said, you know, don't hit the player, hit the game, kind of thing. I want to change and build a new deck, and I'm excited to bring SeaEDH or Najeela, so I'm messing around with some 5-color piles, dude.
That's how you know Jordan is frustrated beyond belief. He dropped an F-bomb.
Did I?
Yeah.
Salty language.
Oh, salty spittoon.
Or that, or I just can't stop myself from swearing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I do feel like the current meta, the way it stands right now, like Jordan kind of put it plainly, there's a little bit more like depth to that, but you can state it as if you are not playing stacks, you're playing 5-color pile to grind through those stacks to like find alternate ways around. And that's kind of how one of my games went was, we played plenty of stacks throughout, and the 5-color pile had a line through it, which is great. Like that's great deck building. But I would love to see you on Sauron the Dark Lord. I think that if you can't win through, you can still combo through, but you can still win through punching face, right? After the board is locked down, you still have the option to punch, people to death. So that'd be a cool deck, I think.
I think that'd be a cool deck. I don't think that's going to be my tournament deck.
You'd be surprised, like
decks for winning.
I think I would love to see you build it and like actually see if you like it or not before you start like focusing in it as a tournament deck. But yeah, I think it'd be a fun deck to take to tournament.
How was your tournament experience, Evan?
I had a great time. Like,
and you took Shalai and Halar, right?
Yeah,
you've been grinding tournaments with that.
Yeah, and not to say that I had a great time because my record was 1-2-2. So I had 1 win on the day, 2 draws, 2 losses. And so the first 2 games were rough, just right off the bat. I took a loss to a really cool deck right off the bat. It was that Max and Will.
It's a very cool deck.
Yeah, Max and Will from Stranger Things.
Oh, it's clue-based interactions.
Friends Forever like type thing. So there's infinite mana outlet in the command zone with Will. Just like you flicker him a bunch of times and you just keep choosing. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And so there are those lines. And he was playing, and his name's Zach. He was playing this. It was just such a creative build.
It was really cool.
Yeah, we were worried because like on turn 4 or whatever, he was already jamming the win. Like we were setting up still. I went down to 5 in game 1, and I couldn't get any lands. All the hands that I took in the first 3 were wonderful. The contents of the hand were great, but I couldn't keep any of them. It was like a Draneth, here and there, like the Eidolon of Rhetoric, stuff that'll help me slow the game down a little bit more. Even an Authority of the Consuls, which would have prevented the win. But I had no lands. I had no mana to produce them. So I ended up going down to 5, and I picked up a hand that was 2 lands, a Mana Crypt, and an Arcane Signet, and a Ragavan. So it was literally I turn 1 Ragavan, so I could get out there and just start generating more mana the following turn. And then I went Crypt, Signet, Swing, Treasure, exiled something not of importance, and then it just kept trying to like grind through and get card advantage and eventually fall into something, and that just didn't play out in my favor. It really sucked, but that meant I had no interaction either. So I was just still sitting there trying to grind, and he walked away with it. Luckily, we had some interaction to let the go around the table one more time, but he would not be denied and took the dub on that one. Game 2 was pretty crazy. This was the first draw of the day. And it was me throwing the game. Honestly, I was not in the right mindset, but this game ultimately changed my mindset for the rest of the day. I went in, and it was a table with a lot of familiar players. So like Dylan, Adam, and then The other player was not familiar. Somebody else's name was Devin. I'd never played with him before. He was on SeaEDH. A lot of decks on SeaEDH. A lot of people playing SeaEDH on Saturday. So it was SeaEDH, Rocco, and Kenrith against Shalai and Halar, and it was set up like that from the get-go. I had such a great starting hand, locked on the board, I had on Rhetoric, put down Shalai and Halar, and I had the battle out. So I had already shown that like my intention is to hit the battle, right? That's why I'm putting this thing out. But someone laid down a Dranith, and then after that, and so they popped the Shalai and Halar, and it was just a struggle to get back and forth. I presented the win towards the end of time, towards the end of the limit of time in the round, and I was deciding where to send my attacker. SeaEDH had an activation. Rocco, it's the one who stopped me, and Dylan, and then we had Kenrith over here who had nothing, and he had just taken his turn. The Rocco player had flashed in Endurance to stop him from winning, and so he goes, I can't do anything, so I guess I'll pass the game to you, because I had already had the win condition on the field, and I was deciding where to send Shalai and Halar, and I was looking around the field, and I was like, Kenrith's always got some tricky, something tricky, never shows their true hand. And I totally forgot about Endurance on Rocco's field because there's a relevant line of text. Endurance has reach.
Yeah, every line of text can matter in a high power game.
Yep.
Competitive game.
Yeah, it's painful.
And so I swung over at Rocco, and he goes, you're swinging at me? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, block with Endurance. And I'm just like, I wanted to throw my chair through the window, dude. I was like sitting there just like shaking my chair, like, fuck. And I was just so pissed. And it went around the table 2 more times. And on this following turn, so Shalai and Halar dies. I gave it lifelink before so I could put a +1/+1 counter on another creature and at least try to establish some sort of like blocking board state. It goes around the table. Everyone's still stacked out. I cast Shalai and Halar. Time runs out. Goes to turns. I don't get another turn. And game ends in a draw. Should have had it. That was absolutely my fault. Had I just swung at Kenrith, who only had 2 open, in the time 2 open mana, I would have won the game. So frustrating. We go to lunch. We sit down. I'm pissed. We get a sandwich. And at that point, my mentality changed. I said, I need to win. If I want to make top 16. So coming into that next game, I draw again, which it was a game where it was just literally 2 Drawdown Limvalas on the board, a Eidolon of Rhetoric, 3 Dranith Magistrates, just all stacks. Everyone had stacks.
See what I'm fucking saying?
Yeah, I hear it.
So
Drana and Limvala is a name that is coming up a lot.
Oh, it's a
lately.
really good card.
I feel like people slept on that when it was printed, and it's just shown up in deck lists.
Oh, bro, it was my number one. I was just like sitting there looking at the set. I'm like, Drana Limvala is the card, like from the set for sure. I want to get out there and buy my copies soon. But yeah, the game was just stacked out. There was 20 minutes left in the round, and I said, all right, everyone, we need to have a very candid conversation. This is the board state. Look at it. I will explain exactly what I want to do. I want all the Dranith Magistrates gone because I have a red terror on the battlefield, and if I get that, I win the game. That's what I want, right? But for these reasons, these board pieces have to stay in place. Like Elish Norn has to stay on the board because it's stopping all ETB effects, stopping Kenrith from winning, like all this. So I said, there's 20 minutes remaining. The way this stands, I had used Invasion of Gobakhan early in the game to look at, there were 2 Kenrith players, look at one of their hands. He had a mana drain. Hadn't used it yet. I knew he was going to use it on the Cyclonic Rift that was going to warp the game. So I was like, 20 minutes left. Let's just call it a draw. Let's save our time. And they're like, we'll see if it runs down to time, zeros on the clock, we'll revisit the conversation. And I said, okay. And so I can do nothing on my turn. I'll pass. And then the guy was like, pass all the way around the table. Time ran out. And I said, you guys want to draw or what? And nothing on the board changed at all. And they're like, yeah, let's draw. So went to a draw. I finally ended up in a pod that in the 4th round that was not necessarily favorable. It was like Winota, and I got paired with Kyle here, who's going first in turn order. and it was Winota in third turn, and then on the fourth turn was Ikra Shidiki and the Sakashima
Okay.
of 1,000 Faces.
God,
So
Kyle went first like 3 or 4 times.
he had a really and the thing is,
That's insane.
in this game, if I didn't have the Force of Vigor that upset the entire table, he probably would have run away with it.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Kyle's Joda deck relies on Cascade and Partner in order to generate just a wild board state.
He actually changed it up quite a bit. So
Okay.
he actually is focusing like Derevi, Najila, Issaquah lines. So if you
Ooh,
get
okay.
if you get any of those on the board, it's game over because he has infinite combat.
While playing like good stacksy legendaries, like, you know,
Drown and
Adrenaline
yeah. So this is a game where Kyle goes first. It's crypt this creature, or he played Issaquah turn 1. And so he already had mana on the board. And then it goes to Winota, who land, crypt, and then the Ikra player has to tutor for a tutor so they can get more mana. And I was stuck on 2 lands, but I had a Wild Growth, and then I top decked Utopia Sprawl, so I had 4 mana on turn 3, and I tapped, I cast Shalai Halar. Goes into my 4th turn, and I top deck the Red Terror, and I go, like, I have to contain myself here because I have 4 mana and no lands. And so on turn 2, I use my Force of Vigor, exiling Dramoka's Command to blast both players' mana crypts, because otherwise Winota would have seen the field. We probably would have seen some stacks pieces. Archon of the Meria was already on the field, and Kyle was showing that he was going to go for Joda or go for like larger creatures, which would have disrupted my board state too. So pop both of those. Comes my turn. I top deck Red Terror, and I just go, I think I'm safe. So cast Red Terror. The whole table goes, well, I'll see you guys in an hour. Game, like, shake up, good to go, get my first win on the day. 5th round comes around, and I know that I have to win to get in, pretty much was the assumption. And we lose to a SeaEDH deck that walked the line. This was actually the really impressive line that I saw from the day. We had some rewinding happen in this game that was rubbed the other 2 players the wrong way, but ultimately SeaEDH won through planeswalkers rather than creatures. Because,
okay. I have not seen that.
Yeah, and I was
Dragon Amanatu and Nicol Bolas, Dragon Lord.
Yeah, to get
Dragon
infinite.
something.
Yeah, and then Oath of Teferi to get infinite planeswalker activations to kill the table, which was I've never seen that before. It was a cool line, and
Was that SeaEDH deck generally a Super Friends deck?
no, they hadn't shown it literally until they did the one search.
Okay.
Yeah, they went and got a Teferi Master time so they could bounce the stacks piece and then go off.
It's actually become the kind of the targeted line for SeaEDH. It's that and like MEL Flickering Dockside are like the 2 major lines.
Yeah, because I had a Containment Priest on the battlefield, which is what I tutored for in order to stop them from winning through creature-based combos, and they had the line built into the deck. So, yeah, they went for Teferi Time Raveler. So the 3 fairy bounced the stacks piece and then went off. But this is where, like, a conversation that needs to happen. I know that when I felt it 3 or 4 times throughout the day, that when the win is in your hand, your heart starts beating through your chest. And you have to be able to step back, take a deep breath, and understand that not every player understands how this win is going to happen or anything. So you need, regardless, like, and this also comes down to like the inexperience of other players. If someone says, I'll do this and go through my whole combo line, you can't say, okay, go ahead. I have no interaction. You win. Like, you can't say that. You have to say, no, I don't quite understand. If you could walk me through it, that'd be great. Regardless of situation, regardless of if you like understand it or whatever, because there were so many stacks pieces on the battlefield that if he had walked through the line because he had gone for Amanatu, and as he was like just putting cards from his library on the battlefield, he was like, I flickered Derevi. I have a Containment Priest on the battlefield. And I told him, I was like, okay, Derevi is exiled. And then one of the players went, okay, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, this is why you don't say just win, like just go for it. And I'm like sitting here like, do it step by step, dude. Like step by step. Because if you flicker Derevi, you lose the game. So I was like, where is everyone at? How does everyone understand the current board state? Because that is where we'll go to. Like that's where we need to rewind to. Does everyone agree And everyone went around the table and said, yes, 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 yes. And I'm like, we can't do that ever again. No rewinding. You slow the hell down on your combo line and explain it step by step. Don't assume that we know.
I wouldn't have gone back.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, and I looked at him and I said, this is in hopes that you get this win here and that you get first seat at top 16. So you get your first in turn order. I'm doing this out of like pretty much the kindness of my heart. So everyone else at the table was cool with going back to that point. And it was James Fausto who won the tournament in Moscow. He was playing Gerson Starn again, which is a great deck. He unfortunately didn't have a great hand. But yeah, he ended up winning. And then I chalked another loss up on the record, and I figured, well, there's no way I'm making the cut. So Jordan and Kyle were ready to leave after having not so great of a day. And I just said bye to everybody, made a trade at the end of the day, and then we shipped it on out. We got in the car and started driving home. It wasn't until we started crossing the bridge back to Seattle that Jordan gets a text or a message on Discord that's like, yo, where's Evan at? And I'm like, and then he goes, and then Jordan looks at me and he goes, dude, you made top 16. I was like, what?
Yeah, you were 16th.
Yeah, I got 16th out of the 7 points that I got. Tiebreakers allowed me to creep up the ladder and make the 16. So
I'm pretty sure on a podcast like 2 podcasts ago, we said stick around and make sure you don't leave early because you never know. And then we left.
Yeah, well, it did. The math just didn't make sense.
It really did. And in our heads, there was just no fucking way that was happening.
Yeah, I would not expect a top 16 with a 1-2-2. Right.
And so we were walking out the door, and Jordan and Kyle were both like, we'd be lying if we weren't, if we told you we weren't praying for your demise. They really wanted to get out there.
I said I was rooting for you, but I'm very happy that you lost.
So we got out of there. We're driving home. We get that message. You made top 16. So I pull off the road. We're going to get an Uber back home, and I call Marcus, who's the tournament organizer. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm turning around. I can come back right now, but it says it's going to take me 15 minutes. And he's like, round starts in 5. If you jump in, that like you're jumping in turn order where the game is at the moment. Those first few turns just
you're not going to win that. You're not winning that game.
They're critical, yeah. So, and it's an imbalanced game. So he said, otherwise I can give your spot up to the next person, who's David. And I know David from playing at Gabby's. We played in Moscow together. He's a great dude. I would rather him have a clean shot at making it to the top 4 rather than me coming in and joining at turn 3 or 4 and hoping that something falls my way. That game did last 4 hours, or like 3 or 4 hours.
Dear God, I would have been miserable.
Yeah, you would have been just sitting there waiting for me. I would have been like, dude, just take the car, I guess.
I just would have spent $400 on an Uber home.
Right. And so it sucks that I didn't get my shot. I came home. I sat there and I kicked myself the rest of the night, just like wanting. I want the matchup against Atlas. Like I want the matchup against the best players in the region, because like that just says to me where I stand in the current meta, or like how my deck is built and how I play it and how I pilot.
To be the best, you got to beat the best.
Exactly. So I really wanted to beat him. I feel like I always have a good matchup with that deck. So yeah, bummer. Ultimately, very sad, tragic, if some may say, but that's ultimately how my day ended for that. And I'm still proud of like the way I played. But I understand that like now I can't come in with like this mentality, start the first 2 games like, man, I'm tired. I got to come in and be like, I'm going to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when we just like are so busy and we don't have time to like for even like a lot of reps going into a tournament where we just like drift into it day of and be like, oh shit, we're here now. All right.
We had 1 day of games like where we sat down and we were like, okay, these are the games. I guess this is how we get reps.
Yeah. That was like four games and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, you got to see interactions a bunch of times.
Got to get more reps.
Yeah. It has to happen.
100%.
Yeah. You said in the middle of the tournament, you were like, I can't be using the tournament games as reps for my deck.
Yeah. 100%. It doesn't feel good. But yeah, I think we can move to our main topic now, which, is kind of tied to like tournaments and stuff like that, our experiences here and just in general, what we've seen, kind of around, a little bit what you're telling of that story is just like optimized play. Like, like things have to pivot on a different axis. We also have to come in with a different expectation on what we're doing for tournaments. I will say like there was definitely a lot of players that were not super experienced at this tournament. And I, for one, will say that I love teaching new people and stuff, and I love bringing new people into this format, and I think it's fucking awesome. Sorry, I keep swearing. But I would like to do that in any situation that is not a tournament for money. Like, I just don't think that's the situation. I think we need to be playing SeaEDH in casual SeaEDH, if you will, where we get those reps in, where we get to teach people new things.
I mean, there needs to be more tournaments where it's kind of like, if you're a newer, more inexperienced player, you have your opportunity to do that, and then the bigger tournaments,
I just don't think
better pool.
I don't think that's true. I think we just play SeaEDH and then you go to the tournament, right? And it's just like, if you are not good enough to be at the tournament, you play more so that you are good for when you go to the next tournament. Like, I don't think we need to have like kiddie pool tournaments.
I mean, but already the player base is, you have casual, right? Or you have SeaEDH. What you're asking for is a third tier of intermediary SeaEDH, for like people who are a little more serious but not as serious as the most serious. But I think it's hard to figure out how do you divide the pool of people, get people to self-select.
Well, what it is I think we just need more recreational SeaEDH games, and those are just hard to find pickup games. So where a lot of times you find a good, congregation of SeaEDH players is at tournaments.
I think that's sort of what Atlas was talking about last week in the structure of how tournaments are like forming now, where I think the terminology was there are majors, which I would call what we were at on Saturday, a major where anyone can sign up, and then there are super majors where you're required to qualify for those.
Right.
So those those super majors are where I think that you find a more focused community of people who understand the etiquette of competitive EDH more so than you find at these majors, right? That anyone is allowed to sign up. And for this particular instance, we had a full, the shop was full, they sold every seat in the house. And what was up for grabs was a Mox Diamond and a few duels and a LED. So I know that people want to include others and have their friends sign up who aren't necessarily SeaEDH players or not involved in many of these community aspects, but it's also irresponsible to throw them into the fray like that, where it's their expectations are that they're going to play Commander, not necessarily have the expectation of what is expected for competitive EDH. So you throw someone in, there were 3 of my tables, I think I sat with someone who said, this is my first tournament ever. And while I want to encourage people to be there for tournaments, so if you're listening to this and you are one of those people who are there on Saturday at Issaquah, I want you to be at that
100%.
tournament.
Don't feel discouraged.
I want you to be there because I want you to get a taste of what we are addicted to, what we love and the atmosphere that we love to be a part of, that community. But just know that there's a long road. It is a long, arduous road, many trials, many reps, many many games that don't go your way. But in the instance of my last game, the game was decided off of a Pongify. In my opinion, the way it all happened was I swung at a guy for two damage or something like that with a Destiny Spinner and with lifelinks off of Heliod's activation, and he was like, you swung at the wrong guy, and he Pongified Destiny Spinner when I already had a Rhythm of the Wild out. And I'm just like, well, it's a redundant piece. There are definitely going to be more threatening pieces on the battlefield that you're going to want to save that for. And he's like, nah, you just attacked the wrong guy. And I went, okay, I guess I'll create a 3/3 ape.
Yeah, so my whole point is not to rag on these people and that's why I lost or anything like that. Not at all whatsoever. But it just comes down to exactly what you said is and what we've had this conversation a ton of times is just, it is a 4-player game, and it's just you really do rely on mutual participation to get through a lot of these games effectively.
I mean, threat assessment is a shared responsibility at the table.
100%.
And it's your job to politic.
Even more than that, resource management. You know that you don't have enough resources personally to deal with all of the problems that are going to come up. So you need to constantly be communicating and relying and talking to all these people that are at one point your friend and the next turn your enemy, right? And a lot of people that are on the level get that, and it's you see that, and then a lot of times things like that happen, and it feels really unfortunate because you feel like you have to like handhold a little bit because you do want people to have.
But is it the new player's responsibility to be part of an unspoken agreement that was not spoken to them?
No. I'm not saying that necessarily at all. But it's just like on top of that, like I'm sitting next to a person where I have to remind them every single Ristic study trigger because they're playing the control deck as a brand new player, and I need them to have interaction. But you know how unfortunate
I think my answer there is that like, hey, when we're doing that mutual threat assessment thing in the pod at the table, now with that new player, your responsibility is to politic not just in your favor at the baseline level you would be doing. There is this untapped resource that the other two people along with you are now trying to exploit for even more,
which is the new player.
Well,
and so now it just requires you to put additional effort into your politicking towards
100%.
And from my perspective, that's 100% on you. Like,
you're not wrong. And like you even said it, like you saw one game where Atlas did have some success, talking to a new player, and like I
watched him puppeteer a player. Like that was the thing is he pulled all the strings, and that like I've learned a lot from Atlas over the last few tournaments playing with him, and just like casual games with him as well, and his politics. And
I heard him manipulating you guys all last week.
Yeah, right. And it's like I learned a lot, and I implemented that a lot throughout the tournament. So like there were some like when someone said I'm a new player, and I'm like, great, that's awesome because I am going to point you at them. Like, and so using politics in that way, like I would say that even though like James is a great player, Gearson Starn, he had no idea how the SeaEDH lines worked or when he should interact while holding on to interaction. And so I'm like, and this is where the guy was moving so quickly. He was ready to go through his combo. And I'm like, shut up. I'm trying to explain him because he has interaction. Like, let's stop for a second so we can explain how this game works, so how this line works, because there is a chance that he can interact with you and you have to give him the opportunity. He has not passed priority. No one has passed priority and you're still going through your combo. Like, stop.
Well, I mean, okay. I would say at the same time, the SeaEDH guy, it was them successfully politicking the situation by trying 100%. To speed it up, understanding that you were the only other person at the table who understood the line. There was the other two people who didn't understand what was going to happen, needed your guidance. So if he can just sort of like barrel through your explanation or get you to speed up your explanation to the point where the other two players don't understand the information you're trying to convey, he was the person being most successful at politics in that situation. And, using it to his advantage.
Totally. Yeah. So there is that. And then that kind of like leads into the next like point in like optimized play, in bringing new people to the table is that like their inexperience leads them to lose games.
Yes.
Right. It happens. And
it
like,
doesn't just cause them to lose games, causes other people to lose games.
Right. And,
which is the thing that I think you're most upset about. Right.
Well, and I'm not upset like necessarily.
Or I'm saying that's, what you're sticking on.
Yeah. My mentality through these games has always been the same. And it's like, you can't be mad at what has already happened. You can only move forward through the turns. And if the game ends before it gets to your turn, that's just how how that breaks down. It is more that like if you lose your first round, you start to fall down the ladder. You lose your second round, you start to fall down the ladder. And this is like experienced players kicking people down into the pit, because once you get down to the pit, there are a lot of inexperienced players or whatever, people who are growing as players, I would say, who might not understand certain interactions and stuff like that. And so they interact in suboptimal points that lead to the whatever outcome, whatever person would have won.
They're not good reps that are teachable moments.
Yes. It's hard. That's a good point. It's like there's not very many teachable moments from those mistakes.
But outside of that, here's the thing, and this is what we were talking about at the tournament, and it was something I was kind of even noticing before you even brought it up, Evan. It is like, say you do have the reps, but RNG gets you, you're not having a great day, whatever. You lose your first 2 out of 5, right? You are now relegated, regardless of your experience, to these, whatever you called that, the belly of the beast here, of, you're playing with the newer players, the people that are O2 records and stuff like that. And like, at first glance, you think, all right, game should start getting a little easier here, right? Like the cream is rising to the top. Those good players are playing table 1, table 2 right now. I'm playing table 7. Like, that is where the games start getting really difficult, though. That's where the games start getting sold for mistakes. And
Optimized play is efficient play.
100%. So it's like, yeah, it may be intimidating sitting at the table of guys who always hit top 4, but you know what that table does 24/7? They communicate. They communicate hyper effectively all of the time about what is happening at the board state to make sure everybody's on the same page. And that is just something you don't find at the back end.
I win more games against experienced players than I win against inexperienced players.
It's really tough, man. Like playing, like there's some games where you just like, you find yourself almost like babysitting and like, it's very tough to like, for me, I guess, I'm working on becoming a better political player, and I am seeing more and more how important it is in a tournament setting, especially in obviously the four-player tournament setting. But it's not my strong suit. I like looking at my deck and looking at everybody's deck and, you know, figuring out the puzzle, right? And that's what I want to do. But when I'm like, you're missing your Ristic Study trigger. You're missing your Ristic Study trigger, and I need you to find a counterspell. How do you still not have a counterspell? You've drawn 10 cards. Like doing that for like 2 to 3 people at a table is very draining for me mentally. So I don't know. It's something for me to work on. You're 100% right. Is I need to become a better political player.
Yeah, and just to kind of flip that and just kind of like move this conversation in a direction that doesn't sound like us losing games or being, a little upset about having those experiences. It's, it's like, how do we help those players, right? And how do we bring them up and coach them through these things? And I think that if you've made it this far in the episode and you're still listening and you're still one of these new players, this is the moment where we can actually offer that advice and be like, hey, like next time you see this, like, or like helpful tips for how to properly interact or like wait. It's like, ask questions. That's the big thing is like
100%.
Like you said, like communication is happening at these the higher tables 100% of the time. These are players who understand the game, but because they've asked so many questions, right? And so
I mean, it's not just like knowing like what's going on in general or knowing what you're trying to do with your deck and then generally knowing what the other players are trying to do. Like it benefits you to be paying attention at all times and know which part of the turn order we're in, regardless whether or not it's your turn, whether or not you plan on doing things, and knowing who has priority in the moment and paying attention to that, even when you're not involved in the situation, you're not planning to battle it out on the stack or interact in some way. And then when you see those things slipping, when you see other players at the table not knowing that information, take control of the situation. Like really slow things down.
100%. I think slowing down is just a huge part of it and communicating more like across the board. I think you really need to hold everybody at the table needs to hold the whole table accountable for following comp REL rules because things get sticky so fast.
Yeah. Like, there are a couple situations where Evan basically had to do that where he just had to be the police and be like, hey,
you literally like stop everything.
Guys,
stop.
There is definitely one person who doesn't know what's happening at all and 2 people who are kind of confused.
Yeah.
And we need to figure this out.
They're not confident enough to be like put the brakes on it, right?
Yep.
So it's like you have to, and it's sometimes it's uncomfortable, and like that is that weird part about this like 4-player dynamic here.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's uncomfortable. So if you're a new player and you're out there and you're in these games and you're in the middle of something and someone is just casting spell after spell after spell, or they're chaining things together or effects or abilities together that is resulting in an outcome that you don't want to see, you like it's hard to build the courage, but eventually you will get there. Build the courage to stop the game state and say, I'm going to hold priority. Like I will hold on to my priority until I understand what is going on here.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Or just stopping and being like, hey guys, what is the stack right now?
Yeah. Just a quick assessment of what's going on. Also, like I think one of the strongest things you can do, and like I see great players with tons of experience do this all the time, and I think new players could use this to great effect, and that's just be like, what should I do right now? Ask the table. Be like, obviously something crazy is going on. I have this piece of removal. It's either counterspell, it's an exile, a destroy, whatever. What should I point this at? And like you can have to table that.
Yeah, you don't even have to tell what you're holding. Just be like, hey, I have interaction. You don't have to say what type of interaction.
Totally.
What are the different points that we can stick in?
What is the problem here? What do we need to be focusing on? Like that is like the conversation that we were talking these top tables. They have that conversation literally 24/7, and it's just like, all right, yes, 30 seconds ago you were the problem, but obviously that was taken care of now, and this is the problem, and you're equally the problem. So it's like we're constantly reassessing.
And that's also politics too. Like you asking the table, like, hey, what should I be doing?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're asking them for help, and when you ask people for help, they naturally like you a little bit more, and they think that
it's diffusing.
Yeah, it diffuses the situation.
And like especially like if you throw your card down, if you give free game information, like don't do it all the time.
Don't do that.
No, I actually do think you can do that. I think I think
success for sure.
I think you can definitely do that to success. It's just that next step in political manipulation. If you get better at it, sometimes it's just you don't want to give all the info away, but sometimes you'll be like, this is exactly what I have right now. And it's like, if that's true, like if that is exactly what you have right now, sometimes giving that information isn't a problem because you're planning. Obviously, you need to burn your interaction here, and that actually lets the other two players know that you're working with currently where you're at, and that gets you guys on a level.
And the other two players and you,
that's the white flag.
Yeah, you and the other two players can then like brainstorm a way to work through, being like, I showed you that I have this soul partition. What do I point it at? And then they're like, well, I actually have this. If you can soul partition that, then I will show you this card in my hand, and we can move forward this way. Give ourselves the best chance of winning the game.
Even at the competitive level, it is a team project up until it's time for someone to win.
Which is why, honestly, I think it's what makes this game so interesting, right? We're trying to force something that is so such a competitive level and so much like mental processing. But at the same time, we're heavily relying on each other.
Yeah, I mean, so like, how to tie this back into the main thing is like your experience that you're bringing to the table as a player is not just your experience. It's the experience cumulatively of all four people in that game. Mm-hmm. And there are ways to draw on that that are to your advantage. And if you don't do that, someone else is going to use it to their advantage.
Yeah, and there's ways to get buried by it. Yeah.
And you're going to get buried by it.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, 100%.
I will say that like stopping the game and holding priority gleans no more information than is given away on Arena when your opponent is letting the timer tick down. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, they have priority. Like the game is telling them that they have priority. Like that you still don't know what's in their hand. You know that they have a point of interact that where they can interact. But you don't quite know what it is. It's a cut down or whatever. The tip that I would give to new players, and this is what helped me grow a lot as a player, and maybe you guys can have or have tips too, but it's like I was always taught to wait until the last possible moment to interact. Right. Mm-hmm. And that has taught me so much about like, I interacted too late. It's already too late, and then you actually learn where you can stick your finger in to achieve success. So like, for instance, that last game where the Pongify was just fired off at the wrong time it's the difference between having 2 more life and having 2 less life.
Yeah, life total is a resource. It doesn't matter until you have none.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like take the 2 life, allow me to gain the life, and then move through the turns. I'm literally just attacking you because you don't have any blockers. Right. Hold on to that. If the 2 life is detrimental, you can wait and fire that off when you're about to lose your last 2 life. Mm-hmm. And then because had you held on to that Pongify, it's like you can interact with SeaEDH, you can interact with anybody, like you can interact with me later when I cast Shalian Halar and actually present a win, but I was not presenting a win at the time. So that's my one tip for new players who are getting into the competitive scene is it's like ask those questions, but then also try to wait until the last moment to interact. It's just going to teach you so much about the stack and how the game works.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. You guys have any tips for new players out there?
Like I said, I think, just that like aggressive amounts of communicating, way more than you think you need to. Just communicate with everybody.
Yeah, like when we're at work, we're in the food industry, and it's like
it's a different level.
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're in the midst of service and of this chaos and hellfire, and you're just like behind.
Yeah, you literally have to notify someone every time you're in their proximity.
Yeah.
Like it's that level of communication.
And you're communicating like on the 50 tickets you're all making collectively at the same time. Communication is huge there, right?
Layering, timing, and all that. And that actually, it's kind of crazy how much magic has like seeped into my life where like now when I'm working on tickets at work, I'm thinking about the sequencing and how the stack is resolving, because the stack is just your line of tickets. So it's kind of funny that way, but it all works out. It all comes together, and that's how my brain works.
Do bread abilities not use the stack when you're making a sandwich?
Oh my god! No, it's the quality of bread comes into play, right?
Got it.
You know, it requires me to either choose a different piece of bread or a better card specifically to interact with the stack.
Timing restrictions on hot sandwiches versus cold sandwiches.
exactly.
Are we just going to be coming with tons of podcast episodes where they're just like analogies from making sandwiches?
Yeah, sandwich analogies are the wave of the future, my dude.
Yeah, card selection is next, and that's, picking your product.
I think that is actually a great topic for the next episode.
100%. Oh, we could definitely talk about
Sandwiches? Oh, hell yeah.
I love
I'm going to
sandwiches.
go in on some sandwich talk
Bread
next
selection.
episode. Yeah.
I'll throw a little free plug. Shout out Man on the Rocks. Their most recent episode is exactly about that, and it was a great up.
Yeah, and Atlas made top 4 again. He continues his streak. He's
Unsurprising.
a wonderful player
Shout out.
and a wonderful guy. Hi, Atlas.
Hello. You guys got anything else for this awesome topic? Awesome pod.
No, I will say I will keep Willie updated. Chris showed up and made his promise true with the Lord of the Rings gift bundle dice.
Oh, snap.
Put it
Yeah,
in the
these
mail.
look sick.
Yeah.
This little countdown.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's all I got.
Sweet.
Number 1 podcast for Dr. Pepper. Number 1 podcast on the internet.
Apparently, that's our new tagline. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening.
If you guys want to support the show, be sure you join the Discord channel. You can find all of our links down below in the description. Make sure to follow us and subscribe on whichever podcast platform of your choosing, and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on YouTube to be notified when new episodes drop, which, spoiler alert, is every Friday.
Yeah. And again, don't forget to suggest players that you want to hear player interviews with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually,
We want to talk Magic with the best people in the game.
Anybody
So,
doing cool shit out there, let us know.
yeah, how about this? If you put someone's name for players in the comments below, whoever gets the most votes, we'll reach out to them, invite them onto the show, get a player interview going.
And the person that gets picked, you get a freaking sticker, dude.
Oh, you beat me to it.
You get a sticker.
You don't get a foil sticker yet. Here's the thing, is that since I didn't play against Atlas in that final round, which I would have been paired against him,
He still doesn't have a sticker.
still doesn't have
Oh,
a foil
man.
sticker. Sorry, Atlas.
Just a plain ass sticker.
Yeah, just a plain one. If you come on the show, I can't guarantee a foil sticker, but if you beat us in a game while you're hanging out, you get a foil sticker.
Boom.
Tough but fair.
There's got to be a bounty on it.
They're expensive, dog.
There were a lot of people asking throughout the course of the tournament. We're like, I beat that guy over there. Do I get a foil sticker? And I said, that's Kyle.
Kyle came with us and owns a MoxStars mat.
Kyle is merely an associate or affiliate of the podcast. You do not get a sticker for beating him.
I'd look him dead in the eye, just serious, and I'd be like, you got to beat me if you want to get a sticker. So
Wait, it has to be specifically Evan?
no.
Like,
No, it's-
okay.
I give him.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're
I
big.
give it a fuck ton
Yeah.
of stickers.
yeah. That's all we got for today's episode.
All right, y'all.
Thanks for listening.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Catch y'all next week.
Yeah.
Bye.